Good morning, Ann. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, doing all right. So, yeah.
Hanging in. Glad it's Friday.
Yeah. Ditto. And ditto. Hey, Connor.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Good.
That's good. I don't know if we're expecting Carolyn today. Do you?
I haven't heard anything, no.
Okay. Um, so if it's all right with you, then we'll just go ahead and get started. I just gotta, it's already recording. I just want to, it's
Okay.
12 o'clock on Friday, April 4th, and we are starting our legislative session.
Sounds good.
So,
Yeah.
big news for this week. Two, I guess, items. First is the budget is halfway through the legislature. The Senate passed the long bill and all the orbital bills yesterday, final passage. Relatively smoothly. The long bill debate
Yeah.
day, the second reading is almost always goes, well into the evening and you're pretty late. And this year they were done like including, and they did put probably 37, I think I heard, of the orbital bills on the consent calendars. So that definitely helped move it a little quicker.
Mhm.
But we still had over 20 orbital bills that were debated in addition to the actual long bill and 61 amendments that were brought for that. And they still had the whole thing done by like 5:30. So that's
Whoa.
kind of record time. Yeah, a lot faster than any of us were expecting. So that was good. No K, the only K-12 amendment that I even saw in the packet was one that would have removed funding from what's the term? It was a finance formula modernization system or something like that. And I don't even remember how much the dollar amount was. They, what I assumed it was whatever the CDE's upgrades need to be to do the new calculations for the 1448 formula.
Okay.
But when they got to that, so that was 55, I think, out of 61, just relatively late in the day, but they just withdrew it. It was a Marchman Baisley amendment, and Baisley got up and just said we withdraw 51 or 55 from the packet. So no debate about that, no background on where it was coming from or what they were trying to do, but all of the others, lots around health related stuff, several higher ed bill. I mean, attempts to move some money around, and there were probably about a half a dozen, maybe 8 amendments that got on. Procedurally, that just means the Senate passed them. So the bill goes to the House now. It gets technically introduced in the House with those amendments intact since it's still the same bill. But the standard process is that when the bill goes into the Appropriations Committee, which is the first thing it does when it gets introduced, that committee will strip all of the Senate amendments out. And that way they're starting with kind of the clean introduced long bill. Typically, if an amendment goes through both chambers, it stands a much better, or gets adopted in both chambers, it stands a much better chance of actually surviving when it goes to the conference committee, which is the JBC. So we can obviously keep an eye on all the amendments, but with particular note to those that have already gone on in the first chamber. I don't know if you guys can hear this in the background, but I knew the minute I got into this small basement, they were going to start wheeling that stupid trash can through here. They haven't gone through at all since the last time I was on a Zoom a couple hours ago, sitting here. It's like he waits
the timing
until,
is it's
like he
impeccable.
waits until I'm starting. Anywho, sorry, that was a distraction. So that's basically where things stand with the long bill. So it passed through the Senate yesterday. The Senate has already wrapped up. They did some third reading bills this morning, and then they took off probably for opening day. That's usually what they do. The House is still going. They have some pretty contentious transgender, like protection bills, that most of them are healthcare related. I think one of them is like
Yeah.
legal protections, but, they have limited debate on those. So I don't think they'll go too late tonight, but they will be on the floor probably most of the day debating those. And then, I heard through the grapevine that they intend to come in on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
For third reading on those, and maybe some others that are waiting for third reading. So,
Are those just out of curiosity, are those getting ugly, those debates?
you know what? I haven't even been upstairs yet. I've been sitting down
Okay.
here. I had 2 other calls this morning, so, yeah, I've just been down here. You can
Yeah,
see
no,
Chris wheeling away in the trash can. There he goes. Maybe we'll find. Yeah, I don't know, actually.
Okay.
And one of our other people at our firm has been up there working on it, or at least, following it, been engaged in them. So I can check in
Yeah.
with her and see how I can't imagine they're not getting a little bit ugly. They tend to. And I know the committee hearings are very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I am not expecting that the House will be in particularly good spirits from having this going on today and then coming in on Sunday to do work and then taking up a budget on Monday. They're going to be,
Yeah.
they won't officially start that on Monday. It'll get introduced in the House on Monday. They actually have some other big hearings on Monday afternoon, which I will talk about here in a second. So they'll kind of do a normal-ish day on Monday, and then starting Tuesday morning, they will meet briefly on the floor. I'm assuming this is kind of the normal way it goes. Every year it's a little bit different, but we'll meet briefly in the morning, break to go to their respective caucuses, and the JBC member from each party will sort of present to their caucus, walk through the narrative of the long bill, so everybody has kind of an understanding of it. And then they should have until close of business-ish on Tuesday to submit any requests for amendments that they want to have. And then the amendments will get published early the next morning. They most likely will go to the floor, spend a little bit of time and then break, and then go to caucus again and review all the amendments and talk through those.
Okay.
And then probably go back to the floor that same afternoon and start second reading, maybe after lunch or something. That's what they did in the Senate. And hopefully finish at least the long bill by the end of it, by midnight on Wednesday night. And then, depending on how efficient and productive they are, if they could get through all of the orbital bills on Wednesday as well, then they could just go straight into third reading on Thursday. They can't do second and third on the same day, but they could do second reading before midnight on Wednesday, and then they could do third reading for all of the budget package on Thursday, and then they would have it done by COB on Thursday, or at least by the end of whenever they finish their work. And then at that point, they would shift back over into their normal schedule, and the JBC would take up reconciling all the various amendments from the 2 chambers. And then the conference committee results coming out of the JBC would have to go back to each chamber for just a up or down vote. But that would be, depending on how long it takes, then probably late the following week, and the budget would sort of get a final approval, repassage, and the conference committee report would be adopted. So that's kind of the time for long bill for the next couple of weeks. On Monday afternoon in the House, we will have a couple of interesting hearings. So the school finance bill, I think I sent you guys a link for it. Basically what we expected, what the speaker had talked about putting out. I have not checked today to see if the runs have been released, but the last time I looked, they were not. So just look really quickly. The runs, or the fiscal note, is what would give us the runs and give us the clear explanation. Oh, do have a fiscal note. All right. So, yep, and it has runs on it. So it looks like this compares 2025-26 under current law, which would be the full implementation of 1448. Well, the 1448 as it was originally envisioned upon passage last year, first year, 2526 under this bill, and then how that changes from current law. So a lot of these will go down. I mean, they look like they're going down because I'll just put this, a link to this in the chat. Sit here and then I'll email it here or something. They will look like they're going down because frankly, we didn't have the money to fully implement 1448, which is why we've gone through all of these negotiations over the course. Oh, my chat's turned off. It's me. I will email the fiscal note to everybody.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So that's all right. So anyway, the comparison in the fiscal note might be a little deceiving because it's based on money we never really had. You know, it's not like that's the money that you've been operating with. That was what we had anticipated or hoped for when we passed the new formula last year, but they didn't have money for that. So what I may see if I could get my hands on would be a comparison of where this proposal 1320 would be compared to like current year. I feel
that would be good.
That would be a more helpful.
Yeah,
that seems like a more
I think
helpful
so, too.
comparison. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so like
comparing
actual
it to
dollars.
what we would like. Yeah, it
Right,
seems like comparing it to what we would like it to be is silly.
Right.
So,
That's not particularly helpful. I mean,
yeah.
we all would have loved to not been in this budget situation, but here we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can maybe get Mark to put that together, or maybe it exists somewhere, but I feel like that might be the better comparison to have. The last time I saw a document with those comparisons, Poudre was exactly flat. And it was basically because of that hold harmless provision that was set to the 24-25 school year. So I would expect that that's what we would see in if I make this request, but just to kind of double check, you know.
Okay.
There are all these little tweaks that happen and little adjustments, you know, make a difference sometimes. So I'll just see if I can make sure that gets updated. So that hearing on that bill is Monday afternoon at 1:30 in House Ed. And I'm not, to be honest, I'm not quite sure why they're moving it this quickly. I was really taken aback when it got introduced Thursday afternoon and then, or no, today's Friday, Wednesday afternoon. And like first thing yesterday morning, I'm hearing, oh yeah, they're going to put it in committee on Monday. And I'm just wondering, because why would you have the hearing Monday and then start the long bit? You know, like why rush that first hearing? So I'm not really sure what that's about, but, and I guess what it does is make me question if they're actually going to do it. Now, I've seen enough of the text and email traffic to know at least the people who are supporting the bill are really screwing around trying to find people to line up testimony. So it seems like they're serious about having the hearing. But yeah, I don't know what the logic is behind having the hearing and then moving into budget where it's just going to sit stagnant for, I assume, at least until Friday. You know, so anyway, so that's 1320. I'm not aware at this point of any other amendments that we're expecting for that. Not to say people won't try, but and I know Douglas County, I think, is still concerned. I think just in general that we're like 1448. I think the same is true of Adams 12. Probably Boulder Valley. So there will still be some pushback, and definitely Senator Marchman and Senator Kirkmeyer are not fans of the new formula either. I think when the bill gets over to the Senate, same thing, you know, we'll hear from them. And I don't think there will be amendments necessarily to address their concerns, because I think it's just kind of a fundamental disagreement about the policy.
Okay.
But I'll keep you posted if we actually see amendments. Speaking of amendments, this is a bit of an aside, but I did get a call from Senator Kipp this morning asking about the dyslexia bill. That did pass out of committee, and they did remove the references to the kindergarten readiness assessment. So it doesn't make that optional or, you know, remove it in any way. But they are still trying to kind of take things off the plate, so to speak. So what she was asking me about, she says, now I'm hearing that there's an amendment that's going to be proposed for some of the other assessments that I believe are maybe at the high school level, where, or actually maybe all grades, but like for the ones where we have staggered every third year or whatever. Is that social studies or is it all of them?
Yeah, I think that's the
Okay.
social studies.
Anyway, so she was saying that it would stagger more or, further apart. I'm really not sure. I'm trying to get a better handle on what it would actually do, but it sounds like it would make it, and the way she said it was, it would decrease the number of required assessments annually but make it, districts could continue to do them. So I think it would be kind of this, you don't have to, but it's up to the district to, if you choose to have them more frequently or something. So that's something that they are contemplating. And to be honest, I forgot to check when they adjourned from the Senate to see if they got to.
Yeah, it was supposed to be today, right?
It was. They did adopt it, and they adopted the bill, and it does not look like they added any amendments from the tracker.
Oh, okay.
So when I talked to Senator Kipp, I did say, yes, based on our conversation, Poudre is supportive of the bill, liked it well enough when it was introduced, but from what I had heard, I think Connor, when we were talking last week, and I mentioned the kindergarten readiness part, you were like, even better. So I didn't think that was a problem and probably even a good thing. So I said, I think the way it is now is fine. And she was kind of asking me, well, what do you think they'll think of this amendment? And I was sort of like, I probably need to see the amendment or get a better sense of what it does before I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So she said she was going to try to forward it to me. I have not seen it come in my inbox yet. But I think I might be able to find it because she did say that he had it before the hearing in education. He just didn't run it. So I might be able to either like find it on the committee's report website, the page where they report the committee action.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might be, something that was emailed to me a while back and I just didn't, pick up on that one because the kindergarten readiness was the one we seemed to be focused on. So anyway, it looks like that did pass their second reading today.
Yeah, so it's passed second reading with amendments, and then it's got amendment number 003 and 001. But those 003 and 001 were from the 31st. It doesn't look like.
Those are from education.
Yeah, those were from before, so it doesn't look like any new ones were added.
Yeah, the board from the action on the floor today doesn't show any amendments. It just has that they adopted the committee report and then they passed the bill. So it doesn't sound like that went on. And I do know also from Senator Kipp that there was some pushback from some of the reform groups that didn't want to see any peeling back of assessments. So he may have just felt like there was too much resistance to do that. So anyway, that was a little bit of an aside, but while I was thinking about the whole testing thing and amendments, I wanted to make sure that we covered that. So I can kind of keep an eye in the House and let you know. I mean, is it something that you'd like to testify on when it gets to the House? Or, I mean,
what's the
up to you?
Yeah.
What's the what? The vibe? Is that what you said?
I was thinking that the heavier lift would be to get it passed through the Senate, not the House.
I mean, honestly, that probably is true. But it also didn't seem to have much trouble in the Senate. So I'm kind of thinking it might be fine. It passed. Okay. I want to say it was unanimous. I remember this. It was unanimous in committee, but Senator Kolker specifically asked for it not to go on consent because he wanted to have the conversation on the floor. So it's, okay. It seems like it's got pretty solid support and is moving pretty quickly. So I don't know that it's something you need to really worry about. I just didn't know if you wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, Kristen, correct me if I'm just speaking for myself, but if it gets in trouble, if you read the tea leaves and somebody's got some major thing, then we can kind of rally a
Yeah.
statement and get down there and testify if you need it, but
Okay.
I would assume that it doesn't, since it doesn't have a fiscal note too, I think it looks to me like it's kind of rubber stamped it.
Yeah. You know, what I might do is check in specifically with Rep. Garcia Sanders, since she kind of has an affinity for Poudre and is on education. And that way, if there's, you know, someone in the audience on the committee that might particularly want to hear from you guys, and that might be persuasive, then I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah. Yeah.
So the other committee on Monday, and I am very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Monday afternoon in House Finance, there will be a hearing on a resolution for the state legislature to file a lawsuit against the constitutionality of Tabor.
Mhm.
So I received a request from the bill sponsor, the resolution sponsor, just asking, you know, he's kind of just doing outreach, trying to get as many, as broad a support as possible. And I was like, well, you know, the school districts rely on a lot of state funding, so it's certainly my school districts may be interested. So I just, you know, have put it on everybody's tracker and wanted to just kind of raise it. I had my call this morning with Greeley, and I was sort of like, I mean, obviously this is a different situation because you guys are the board, but for them, I talked to admin people. And so I was talking to their attorney and I said, you know, I don't want to get you in hot water by asking you to testify when you have a fairly conservative board up there that might really like Tabor, and, you know, so,
Yeah.
so I don't know if Greeley is going to step in, but, and I haven't heard anything about any of the other, you know, the districts or the K-12 groups where, you know, if any of those folks will be testifying or weighing in either, but anyway.
So the lawsuit on that would be the constitutionality of Tabor brought by a legislative committee, the finance committee.
I pull up the actual,
Yeah. And Yara is like a co-sponsor on it, isn't she?
they have
Or-
like, it looks like almost the entire House Democratic Caucus is, I mean, there's a lot of
Okay,
them that are
yeah.
on there. Yeah. It's got a lot of co-sponsors signed on. Let's see, I think it's 1023. Yeah. So it's pretty short. I can just read, you know, the last portion of it. So be it resolved, in the judgment of the General Assembly, it's a matter of extreme importance and critical to protecting the core functions and interests of the General Assembly to determine whether Section 20 of Article 10 of the state constitution violates the Enabling Act of Colorado and the guarantee of Republican form of government. So I think the idea is they're arguing that this is, you know, the direct democracy route of having this put in by the people is somehow running afoul of what the General Assembly is tasked with doing in the state constitution. So it goes on to say, let's see, guarantee the Republican form of government set forth in the guarantee clause of Section 4, Article 4 of the U.S. Constitution by nullifying the authority of the General Assembly to assess taxes and infringing upon the plenary authority of the General Assembly to appropriate money for public purposes. And that the General Assembly authorizes and directs the Committee on Legal Services to engage appropriate legal counsel to file a lawsuit in the name of the General Assembly and state district to determine constitutionality of the taxpayer bill of rights. So they will have the Committee on Legal Services, I guess, would be the plaintiff, or the full General Assembly, I'm not sure. Hire a lawyer and say, the people have taken our rights away from us.
Yeah.
So anyway, we all
I
do a
think
lot
it
of hand
sounds
wringing.
interesting. But I speak for myself. I would be apprehensive of getting behind this right now. And definitely testifying against it. Or excuse me, in favor of it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's gonna go anywhere.
Well, and you know, I'm always, the first thing I start thinking of is, you know, like I said to Nate this morning in Weld County, you know, even though you guys are the elected board members and you can make the call where you want to stand on something, still have your public, and your public commented all your meetings, and I know how people can come out of the woodwork when you take positions on things, so certainly, you know, there might be plenty of folks in your neck of the woods that are fans of Tabor and might not love the school district taking the position. But I also, you know, I agree. When I first found out that he was doing this, and I was kind of like, oh, this is one of the downsides of term limits, because I remember when Andy Kerr was in the House, I don't even know how many years ago, 10, 12, and he had a lawsuit. I mean, he was one of the plaintiffs anyway, on a lawsuit against Tabor. And, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, we've tried this and it didn't get very far. And I don't know if maybe this is a different legal argument. So maybe this one has more legs. Maybe the situation timing is different, judge is different, who knows? But
well, I guess that was part of my curiosity is like, where does the Attorney General sit on this? Because the last time he argued to keep Tabor. So and it's the same Attorney General. So I don't know, like.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could ask his liaison, Jeff, his legislative liaison is over here a lot, so I can check in.
I'd be real curious to hear, like, if this is a different legal argument than, what was that, 21 that they did this? And just see it, you know, if Weiser is planning on supporting, not supporting, staying out of it. I don't know. You know, it'd be curious to me on that.
Well, I will see what I can figure out. It's still very early. It just came out. I don't know. I think it was technically introduced on Monday, but obviously it's been new, and hearing is on Monday afternoon. So he's kind of, we'll see how that goes. I imagine there'll be lots of opponents too. And I will try to get my head around, because that's kind of my gap in knowledge on this topic, is I don't know enough about the previous legal argument and how, you know, to know if this is dramatically different. Because yes, I mean, what's the definition of insanity? So it's like, if this is the same legal argument, what are we doing? But if it's some new hot take, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I will say this, Rep. Camacho is a very smart attorney. So I don't think this is like something he, you know, it's just kind of coming up
just
with.
Winging it.
Yeah. So I don't know, we'll see.
Okay.
So the only other, those were the two new house items on the tracker. The only other thing that I have added to your tracker is just the orbital bills that are Senate bills. And, you know, it's really more for your own knowledge, just so you can kind of be aware of them. I mean, these are specifically the orbital bills related to K-12. So on the tracker, I think I started about 214. That one might be the most noteworthy, because that's the healthy school meals, whatever it is, going to the ballot, and the sustainability of that one. And then the rest, I think, are fairly say that, like, underutilized, maybe underfunded. They're just, you know, I think what they tried to do was eliminate programs that are not, you know, not used, not funded, or things that maybe never have quite gotten off the ground. Just kind of clean things up. So, you know, one of the ones I was kind of laughing about, 216 is one that I was sort of like, oh, it eliminates the printing of the school laws book. You know, like I don't know if you guys get it, but like
yes, we do.
Every fall they give up you know, specifically the Title 22 changes. And I was like, oh, that's like Christmas every fall when I get my school laws book. I'm going to miss that. But, you know, and it's
and I won't miss that at all.
They look so nice on my shelf. It's not even that much money, but I think that is like a perfect indicator of how they are just like scooping up as many of the little pennies under the couch cushions as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Any grant programs that are not utilized, not funded, whatever. So do you guys have CSI schools? I can't remember. Do you have any CSI schools in Poudre?
I
Yeah.
don't think we do. Wait, we do
Well,
Charter Institute?
yes and no.
Yeah, I mean the state ones, but like the online. Like
There's
which ones are you thinking of, Connor?
I'm thinking of Ascent, which is
Oh, yeah.
technically an inch out of our
Yeah.
district.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So one of these had to do with mill levy reporting of like amount of mill levy sharing with CSI schools or something like that. And I just didn't know if that one was one that would impact you guys or not. So anyway, like I said, I don't know that in addition to, I don't know that any of these are necessarily things we want to fight or change or anything, but also they're moving pretty quickly along with the budget, and it's, a little bit of I'm not sure we could change it if we went into sort of situation. So if you see anything that is just really disturbing, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But mainly I just threw them on there so that you could kind of be aware of them. Like I said, there are 60, is that right? There were 60, I think, ish orbital bills introduced so far, 63, something like that.
Okay.
But I believe there is also a second round of orbital bills coming. And I know one of the things that you guys have asked a lot about is the Ascent, sort of the fate of Ascent. And so my understanding at this point is that will have to be a JBC bill. It was not released in this package of orbital bills.
Okay.
So that's one that's yet to come.
Okay.
It is a phase out, but I think it's only 2 years of phase down or whatever. And there's still this talk of kind of a replacement program that's maybe a little broader PWR options of, sort of what you could, the path you could take. But I think at least based on the staff recommendations in the memo that the JVC staff provided to the committee, the recommendation for the funding of what they might want to sort of set aside for something like that kind of replacement seemed quite a bit lower than what has been in Ascent. So, I don't know where that sort of leaves us if we're potentially diluting the pool, the pot of money with more programs, but lowering the total pot as well. So anyway, I will keep sort of trying to find out or just watching to see what the JBC decides to do.
Okay.
I think at this point, I would say probably don't continue to direct kids into Ascent programs for the moment, but
no, we're not doing, I know they're not doing that right now, and they're trying to figure out how to help the kids that are planning on doing that if it doesn't happen. So
how many kids, how far down, because that was the thing that I've been trying to get my head around in the sort of phasing out concept is it the kind of program where kids start as freshmen and choose their classes and sign up for things, or is it like not until they're juniors or something that they're heading
I think it's
into
mostly
this track?
juniors and seniors that are making this decision to do Ascent.
So I mean, if that's the case,
stretches maybe to sophomore year, but I don't think.
Yeah.
To my understanding, it's not something that's offered right out of the gate to freshmen.
No.
That was my understanding.
So the sophomores,
No.
this year's sophomore class would be the ones that I would worry about. So this year's seniors, I think, we're good for next year, and I think the year after. For sure, this year's seniors should be good. If there are juniors who have been relying on it, I will try to double check and confirm that and see what the status is year after next. But if there are sophomores currently, making plans for that, you may want to kind of look into that.
Okay. Yeah, the more we know about that I wouldn't feel comfortable reaching out to parents at this point and saying, we think you're good for a cent. But the minute we know that we are, solid on that, that would be great to have so that we can send out to parents and kids who are planning on doing that.
Okay.
Money is there. You can do a cent. And then, but we know that this is going to be phased out.
So I think what I will do is see if I can get to Senator Bridges, who's the chair of JDC, and just kind of take his temperature, like, because the committee, they've had this presentation from their staff has made recommendations and written them. As far as I know, they have not taken any actual votes on it as far as like what it will look like. So maybe I can see if he has any insight into kind of where they might head. And that way I can at least give you kind of a warning of what to expect. Or maybe
Yeah, that'd be great.
influence it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be great because if we can, again, I know we have a number of seniors that are planning on it this year, and everybody's sort of up in the air as to what to do. Do we have it? Do we not? And nobody wants to say yes until we know that the check has been written. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I have been told over and over, oh no, next year will be fine. Like the current seniors are fine. But yeah, you're right. I haven't actually seen anything in writing. There's not a bill drafted.
Yeah.
No official action has been taken. So, until the fat lady sings.
Exactly.
So, so I think that pretty much covers everything that I have. Those are kind of the big things moving right now.
Yeah.
And the new things.
Do you have any questions, Connor? I think.
No, I'm good. I think it's,
Yeah.
For all everybody, myself including, lighting our hair on fire, it seems to come out right where everybody thought it was. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I had this conversation this morning about overall budget, K-12 budgets, and the sort of like state versus federal, and there's like, I think the people still feel this squeeze on budget setting at the district level. But I really do feel like a lot of that is more driven by things happening federally, and that at the state level, they have worked really hard. I mean, they can't totally make up the difference of cuts, from the US DOE, but I think they've tried very hard to not have things go south at the state level while they're also going south at the federal level. Trying to at least hold as much as they can where they can. So,
Yeah.
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 Well, good. Well, thanks for the update.
Yeah, thank you.
I will let you guys know how school finance goes and the dyslexia amendment. Maybe it's not even going to go on. If it passed today without it, maybe that was just a flash in the pan conversation.
Yeah.
But I will talk to you guys next Friday, and if it comes up before then,
All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Thanks.
weekend.
Have a good week.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. All right. And the legislative meeting is adjourned at 12:37 p.m. on Friday, April 4th, 2025.